Hey, have you checked what Apple's stock has been doing lately? Because if you haven't, you might want to sit down for this one. So let's talk about Apple Incorporated, ticker symbol Apple, one of the most watched, most talked about, and honestly most fascinating stocks on the entire planet. Whether you're a seasoned investor or someone who just bought their first iPhone last week, Apple's stock performance touches your life in ways you probably haven't even thought about yet. Now, Apple has long been the crown jewel of the stock market. We're talking about a company that became the first in American history to hit $1 trillion market cap, and then just kept going. It crossed $2 trillion, then $3 trillion, making it one of the most valuable companies ever to exist on this earth. That's not just a number. That's a reflection of how deeply Apple has embedded itself into the daily routines of billions of people worldwide. When you look at AAPL's stock history, what you're really seeing is a story of transformation. Back in the early 2000s, this was a company that was fighting for survival. Then came the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad, and suddenly everything changed. Investors who had the foresight to hold on to Apple shares through those years saw returns that were genuinely life-changing. We're talking thousands of % in gains over the long term. But here's what makes Apple's stock conversation so interesting right now. The company isn't just selling hardware anymore. Services have become an absolutely massive part of the business model. Think Apple Music, Apple TV+, iCloud subscriptions, the App Store, Apple Pay. That services division has been growing at a pace that gets Wall Street genuinely excited because it means recurring revenue. Steady, predictable money flowing in month after month, regardless of whether someone buys a new iPhone this season or not. And speaking of iPhones, that's still the heartbeat of everything. iPhone sales account for roughly half of Apple's total revenue, which means every time a new model drops, the entire financial world holds its breath a little. Analysts pore over supply chain data, pre-order numbers, and carrier promotions trying to predict whether this cycle is going to be a blockbuster or a disappointment. Now, Apple isn't without its challenges, and that's important to be honest about. There's been regulatory pressure in Europe around the App Store, concerns about slowing growth in China, which is one of their biggest markets, and the broader question of what the next massive product category is going to be. The Vision Pro spatial computer was a bold swing, but at $3,500, mass adoption isn't happening overnight. What keeps investors coming back though is Apple's extraordinary ability to manage its own finances. The company has bought back more of its own stock than virtually any company in history, which is a way of returning value directly to shareholders. They've also maintained a dividend, which appeals to the more conservative investors who want some income alongside their growth. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway famously held Apple as one of its largest positions for years, and when Warren Buffett is that enthusiastic about a stock, people pay attention. He described it not as a tech investment but as a consumer products company with unmatched brand loyalty, and honestly, it's hard to argue with that framing. Yahoo Finance remains one of the go-to platforms for tracking all of this in real time, giving everyday investors access to the same quotes, historical data, and news flow that professionals use to make decisions. So here's the thing that I want to leave you thinking about. In a world where technology companies rise and fall faster than ever before, Apple has managed to stay not just relevant but dominant for over 2 decades. The real question isn't whether Apple is a good company. The question is whether the best days are already behind it, or if we haven't even seen the biggest chapter yet.